everyone. Welcome back to the UpSet podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Latasha Hewitt. And you guys know I'm not alone. Let's bring on the crew. Hey, everybody.
Hello,
Hey,
family.
what's up, everybody?
Good to be with you.
Yes, we are back. We are back and we are live. Just so you know, we are live tonight and we will be taking calls from the subject matter and we will be posting your comments and hearing what you have to say. Before we jump into that, a lot has just been going on this weekend. Some of us were at the naming ceremony for the Fordhams at Washington Adventist University for the religion department. For those who didn't see that, we were able to stream it. So go back and look at our Facebook page and YouTube as well. Right, Charles? I was looking on Facebook, but yeah, we were there. It was a great ceremony. It kind of got the feeling stirring a little bit more for me again, but it was great to be there. What did you guys think? Those who were there. I know, Pat, you were there. Charles, of course, you were there.
It was
Yeah,
hot.
it was a great.
burning.
Yeah, it was hot.
It was hot.
It was physically hot. Yes.
Yeah, man, it was hot.
I thought it was a great tribute to the Fordhams. It further says the depth and the breadth of his connectiveness to everyone.
Mhm.
There were a lot of people who expressed, their support and happiness that the school was renamed for the Fordhams. And I think that, again, it speaks to how this man affected so many people and his wife as well. So while I was there working, I still appreciated the great words and the music that was attributed to him.
Yeah, it was awesome.
No, it was. I'm a little possessive. I thought he only belonged to us, but when you see the seat of the presidency and how many boards he sit on, the medical boards in the union, the medical facilities and the schools, I just thought it was us. You know what I mean? And then when you saw how many people he's touched, I loved it. I don't even feel a way that HMS Richards is on the outside and on the inside is named a department after him. I just hope every young person, I shouldn't say young person, every student that comes through there will just take an inch of what he was about in pastoral ministry. And we'll have a different world, a different ball game if that should happen. So I was extremely proud and hot. It was burning.
Hot and proud. Yeah, it was nice. Check it out.
GP, are you with me?
What's up, family?
Your
Yeah.
peeps were asking about you already, GP. I'm glad you got on.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. I had to be here. Even if I'm late, I'm glad to be in the building.
Amen.
Yes, welcome. And Tally, he couldn't make it with us tonight. He's a busy man. He's always going here, there, and the other. But
He's our Effie in the group. He's trying to go solo. We know what's going on.
We're not gonna let him through like that. So
He's trying to leave the Jackson 6, be Michael Jackson, and go up by himself. Yeah.
Not gonna happen.
we don't want him again.
We may yet see him. You never know.
Yeah, that's one
He
thing.
may
can always
he may
pop
drop
on.
in.
And we'll let him in the room.
Y'all
All
better.
right. You guys know last week we had our open forum and we had a blast with that, by the way, guys. We love the comments. We loved your feedback live, and it was great to hear that and to have that interaction. And we put out the question to you: where's some topics that you want us to cover? And, we were looking at those. We took notes on those. So actually tonight's topic was a suggestion that came from last Sunday's live podcast. And it was about the vaccine mandates. Now, there's so many directions that we can go with this, but Marlene is going to lead us out tonight to make sure we stay on track. So we
Amen.
can have some good dialogue. And we will have an opportunity for you all to call in and share your thoughts on some of the points that we're bringing up. And I'll put that number up. But Marlena, take it away.
All right. Good evening, family. We're so grateful to be able to come before you today. Can you hear me? Okay, there we go. It sounds like I was going out a little bit. This is quite a controversial topic here, and we're going to try to go over it as much as we can. We're going to speak a little bit of facts. You'll hear some of our opinions because there's a lot of passion there, and we want you guys to be well, do well, be successful, listen to the right people, be proactive with taking care of yourselves as well as others. So we're going to have some good conversation here today. We need your input, and we may not be able to change your mind, but at least if we can get you thinking in a different way than what you've already been thinking, because there's some tough things happening right now with this virus, and so many people are dying, and we want to make sure that you take care of yourselves, your family, your church, look out for your neighbor. And so one of the first things we want to discuss is this mandate, right? What is this mandate, and how did it come about? So the first thing I want to ask you, Chuck, I know we were speaking back in the green room just about the mandate as we've been looking up some things and talking about it. And what was the administration at this time really trying to get out to the people?
Well, I think the administration is, as the president said in his press conference, I'm not sure what the actual quote was, but he implied that he is impatient with America and that he wants to see things happen according to the president. Now, in the context of this particular topic, the president is mandating, as in creating an order for the United States to be forced to be vaccinated. Now, he did make a few parameters, and keep in mind this order is not completely written yet. I really believe his press conference was a kind of a feeler thing, just let's see what the reaction will be. And of course, there's been a lot of pushback, because when you mandate something, you are ordering someone or some group to do something, whether they like it or not. Okay, so it's an order. And just for the record, I believe they said, legislature says that they can expect this executive order from the president before Thanksgiving. So it's not in place now, but understand that his intent is to have as many Americans vaccinated as possible because of what the pandemic has done to us. So this mandate means, I think it's his position of saying, I want people to live. I want our economy to come back. I want America back, and since you all are taking your own good time to do that, I'm going to make you do it. You see, the problem, though, is, if I may add to my, response to your question, is that when you mandate, you can't discriminate. If it's a mandate, it's a mandate for everyone. And according to what I have studied and I've watched the legislature push back on this. For instance, on one thing he says, well, if you are the head of an organization that has 100 or more employees, he wants the employees to be vaccinated under his mandate. Well, what if you have 99?
Well, would you then, team, consider this maybe a partial mandate? I know from the very beginning, because I've been watching this, that it was not his desire to have a mandate at all. He wanted people to volunteer, to want to protect yourself and protect your brother and your sister by wearing a face mask and getting your vaccination. So it was not his intent to have a mandate at all, even though he was being pushed. But there were some things that was happening. That's why when he said, I'm becoming impatient, we see how this whole thing has become quite political. All right. Where the previous administration, and other team, if you had some thoughts, just hold your thoughts for just a second, but I want you to come back. The previous administration, they had warp speed contract with the companies, the pharmaceutical companies, to come out with a vaccination immediately, right? As soon as possible. It was hoped that it would be by the end of 2020 or the first of 2021. So 2021. So initially, this whole hype about the vaccinations, it was well welcomed.
Mhm.
Then it was stated when we received a new president that we're going to make sure that he is not successful, which his one of the main things he was running on was to get rid of the COVID, right? To diminish it so that the population could be saved, the economy would come back, we would return to our normal society. So with all of the politicking going on, then people started to say, I refuse to wear a mask. I refuse to get vaccinations, as if it had nothing to do with their political stance initially, right?
Mhm.
And so you have people now stating that they're so against it when initially they were for it. Okay. And so
Flipping the
it
script.
puts our leader in a particular position, because now you're either going to just let people die. You're going to let people die. And with these new variants coming in, the efficacy of the previous vaccinations are not as strong as they were before. And so those who have gotten their vaccination, they're angry. It's like, what are you going to do, Mr. President? So I want to say to the team, as Chuck has spoken, what was the president to do? So there's now a partial mandate. Any comments on that?
Yeah,
Well,
I think it was a sorry, Tasha.
Okay.
It's a public health crisis, and so it's my opinion that we are living in the tension between Leviticus 13 and Revelation 13. So Leviticus 13 is public health, and Revelation 13 is political power. So I don't think we're at Revelation 13 yet, but we're just living in that tension right now.
Okay, bro.
There's a public health crisis, and there's a prescription for a public health crisis.
Mm.
How you gonna just don't even how you just gonna jump on here with this Leviticus 13 and Revelation 13 and just left
He's
us
a
out
preacher.
there?
He's a
Yeah.
preacher.
So he just came with it like that. I'm gonna say it like this. I'm thinking that I'm looking to be safe. Let's look at us as individuals, right? Before we go political, before we talk about church and what we should do for church, and forget church for right now, education, because that's where you're really seeing it jump out. It's just really, really getting crazy. I'm thinking for me as an individual, I want to be as safe as possible that I can, right? For me. And then I need to make sure that if I have something, because we know now you don't have to cough and carry on. You be asymptomatic and end up giving to somebody else, and you ought to be caring about the next person. So before we get to the politics side of it and all of that, my thing is we ought to be thoughtful about the next man. If you're not thoughtful about the next man, be thoughtful about yourself at least. Where we going with that? So let's go all the way back when this thing first came out. Everybody was wearing let's stay safe. We were making masks.
Was that mandated?
Nah, well,
it was just requested.
Yeah.
You did it just because you wanted to be safe. Now I know let's bring it back to where we are. There's a difference between a mandate and a law, and that's where it gets really dicey. Now you're gonna tell us how to live. You're gonna tell us,
do it or else.
That's what people don't really like.
We will get there. We will get there.
But stay with me, guys. Tosh, did you want to say something real quick? I know you wanted to say something when GP was speaking, because I'm about to take us somewhere. Okay, I'm about to take us somewhere. As a president, it is his position to keep the country safe. All right. This is not the first time that something has been mandated or partially mandated. Smoking kills you. All right. Whether it is primary, secondary, tertiary, right? Smoking kills you. There's a mandate that says, okay, we're going to stop all public smoking. Well, doesn't that kind of mess up your rights, right? You can no longer smoke and eat in the restaurant with your family. That was a mandate for my safety, even though you wanted to do that, right? How about the wearing of seatbelts? It was studied to show that accidents will kill you, right? And so putting on your seatbelt promote safety. Well, hey, you're now destroying my choice, right? Because I don't want to put on my seatbelt. And so some people don't, and some people die too, right? How about multiple vaccinations before now, guys? When I remember being young, my mom, I had to get the mumps, the measles, the chicken pox vaccine. I got the thing still in my arm, right? And you could not go to school without it, right?
Mm-hmm.
As
That was the
healthcare
real mark of the beast. The real mark of the beast was if you had that mark on you. If you
That's
too
right.
young, you don't have that. But if you old like some of us, you still got that mark on your. That's the mark of the beast.
Yes, the mark of the beast.
Yeah, y'all got the remnants from the shot. The remnants.
Right.
So
Right.
listen, guys, if we have had this for long periods of time, right? What is the difference now?
Mm-hmm. I wish I knew
Well,
the answer.
well,
Stay
I
with me,
mean,
guys. What's the difference?
I think in the spirit of a mandate, there really isn't much difference. However, I think you have to take into consideration that mandating a country to be vaccinated is a little different from seatbelts. Reason being is I personally do not believe that it is just a matter of, being safe for your brothers and sisters and your neighbors and for the country at large. I think there's more going on with that. And this gets complicated. There's going to be a lot of pushback from the private sector, from the legislature about how this mandate comes out. And it has to be carefully written. Just as I alluded in my opening comments, if you start putting numbers and segments of society in exception, then you're not caring for the whole. It's like mandating seatbelts for Fords and Chevys, but not for BMWs.
I don't know if
It's
I agree with that, Chuck, that you're not caring for the whole.
Well, it's simply because are we going to mandate all undocumented aliens to be vaccinated?
That's on the table right now, by the way. Whether
Well,
immigrants,
because they're here.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
will that mandate apply to them?
Yeah.
Will that mandate apply to businesses that are under 100 employees? Because you have to remember that those employees work for the CEO of that building. They do not, of that business, they do not work for the president of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So if a CEO of a company that has 75 employees and they say, oh no, mandate doesn't apply to us, don't worry about it. Just, do your thing, whatever that is. You see, so I'm saying if you're going to make a mandate for the good of the public, it should be throughout, no exceptions. Because right now, even as it stands, the president, the office of the executive branch and the legislative branch and the Justice Department currently are exempt from that. So the legislative branch can say, oh, well, it doesn't apply to us. But it does apply to them because they are people, they are Americans, they have family and friends. It should apply to them. Mm-hmm. So all I'm saying is, for me, it's not a discussion of whether vaccines are good or not. That I think the data shows that vaccines are very effective.
Right.
Okay. Mm-hmm. My thing is when you start putting mandates out, you can't put it out partially. Mm-hmm. Make it for every living human being who is on this continent.
Mm-hmm. Well, but before we dig a little deeper, we do have some commentary in the chat. So I wanted to tackle some of those. Tiffany was bringing up the fact that some people who are vaccinated still don't want to follow the recommendation to continue wearing masks. So that's a whole nother layer. People still believe that just because you've been vaccinated, you don't need to wear your mask. So there's that tension there. Well, I'm vaccinated. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I'm just sometimes an anti-masker, or I just don't believe that they're necessary. So, that's a whole nother issue there that she was bringing up, and some of the myths that we have to discuss. And then this whole discussion, we were talking about, how we're viewing the vaccine. And Rodney brought up this point. He said he's not a scientist, but could it be that God is using this vaccine like God used Elisha to tell Naaman to go dip in the muddy Jordan River? Just a thought, maybe. Maybe God's trying to help us out, people. He's giving us a solution.
Mm.
Right. And a couple more before we continue with this. And Deke from Philly, I think you're the one who suggested this topic.
That's
And I
right.
think this kind of talks about what GP was referencing. He said when the Sunday law is mandated, it will be on the basis of health and climate. So will you go along with that? So that
Well, my thought process, Deke, and thanks, Deke, because you've been with us since last week, killing it. But I do want to say this: that you say health and climate. I think it's going to be more on finances. It's going to be more on what's the word I'm looking for, on the almighty dollar, which is still health and climate, but just the other way around. Because look at where we are now. The vaccinations, masking is all about bringing back Wall Street.
The economy.
It's all about bringing back
Yep.
the economy,
Yeah.
right? And you
But
saw
also keeping deaths down too, Pat. I mean, the
we
the
don't care about
deaths are.
that.
You don't care about people in
No, no,
America.
no, no, no. And I'm not even
You
trying to be
would
facetious. I'm not trying to be facetious about that. People die every day on certain look at what we eat. Look at what look what the FDA approves or not approve. Look at the intake. Look at the pollution that's in the air. There's so many different things that they can mandate, but this situation has become so political that now someone has to step in and be the decision maker. Let's
Mhm.
take this. Let's take this off of, and I don't want to take Deke off of what he said, because I do believe it's a multiple amount of things that's going to bring about the Sunday Blue Law. And if you don't know anything about the Sunday Blue Law, get with your local church and your local Seventh-day Adventist church and learn about it, because it's on the way. By the way,
Mhm.
okay, I'm not even.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
can
want
Google
to
that.
yeah, you can Google it, and it's not even Adventism, by the way. It's
Mhm.
not even Adventism. It's our history books, right? But let me go back to
Right.
this. I think when we look at, I feel sorry for our leaders. Can we get Marley? I know you're running this thing from off of president of the United States. But what
Mhm.
about those who run their Starbucks, or those who
Mhm.
run their our school system, the Adventist school system,
Hospitals.
hospitals, etc. For you to be able to say, okay, this is what needs to be done before we can move on. I feel bad for the president, but what about those who are presidents of conferences, presidents of hospitals, presidents? I think it's difficult to make a decision like that without losing your critical people.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I actually saw a news article this week, and I also saw it on the news itself, an interview where they were saying many of the large companies liked it better with the president throwing it out, because it was something that they really would have liked to do, but they would feel kind of held up by the employees, like you don't have a right to do that.
Mhm.
But now they can blame it on the
Mhm.
president's mandate, but they feel more comfortable because now you're able to put that mandate out to keep your employees safe. Because I mean, now to be very honest, guys, you have many who are refusing the vaccination and just the simple wearing of the mask. And now you have almost 2,000 people dying daily. That does affect the economy. It affects,
Mhm.
the presentation of the presidency, his decision making. And so he has to do something. And I get you, Deke, do we make decisions on that? Well, I want to ask people, what do you think should be done? All right. We're talking about, don't make me do something, right? Just a simple wearing of a mask was the request, and to be vaccinated. But people would rather take the vaccination, not the vaccination, but that medication, the ivermectin. The ivermectin. We have many people who are now choosing. I saw an article where there might have been just some in the teens of the thousands people taking that drug. Now it was like over 800,000 or something people taking it. In the smaller dosages for humans. But if you're not certain what something would do to your body in a vaccination, and remember Chuck and everybody else, all the other vaccinations that we've had to take with polio, rubella, all those things, they were mandates. All right. And we had to take them for our safety, for public safety. No one knew what was in that. No one knows what's in the ivermectin, but people are believing these things, and they're just doing anything because they're running in fear. I mean, what do you guys think about that?
Is that horse medicine? I'm sorry.
That's right.
Is that horse medicine? You know what? And this is, matter of fact, this is not even funny. In Africa, some parts of Africa, they were saying that if they drank bleach, they would clear themselves of AIDS. I think of HIV. Am I the only one that ever heard that? If you drink bleach or something like that,
I've heard that before.
That was
I've heard it before.
stated.
There are people drinking bleach in America for COVID.
And we're having all of that. That's, I'm looking at some of these things, and Marlena, this is all coming down to the individual person. Okay, either way we look at it is coming down to the individual person. I think that it is. We need to ask for God's wisdom. Get off of WhatsApp. I'm sorry, but no, I mean,
not WhatsApp. No, that's where that's circulating, right? Okay.
I know it's circulating there, right? I can't say anything. Come on, mom and dad.
Instagram.
No, really, we
Facebook.
And I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna say this. You all are my pals, my friends. I have a problem with some things that comes from CDC. I have a problem with some things that come from the WHO, right? Right. I have some problems what comes from NIH. I do. Sometimes I look at the inconsistency of that and I say, man, but I need to choose a life, right? I need to choose some way to make sure that I'm healthy. I know I got creamed for this. I don't know if y'all saw it. I put up something on Facebook that says the when you put the blood up on the post in Egypt, I wonder what happened to those who decided that they didn't want to put it up. Man, first of all, I got creamed because everybody was like, you can't use the blood of Jesus with the vaccine. I wasn't using the blood of Jesus with the vaccine. I was using the choice, not the blood.
We do need his blood to cover us, protect us. We still need it.
Marlena, we don't have an organ here because I know that you're going to start with that. Because listen, and I do agree, guys, that the blood of Jesus. I believe God is pushing us closer to understanding who He is, but He wants us to make a choice to live. Right? I'm talking about to live. When we were going to public school, we had to take rubella, we had to do the measles, we had to do the mumps. You had to do. They were coming out with all kinds of stuff that we had to do,
and multiple doses.
Yeah, you had
multiple doses, right?
We had yellow cards that we had to fill out before we can go to the next grade or whatever the case may be. And nobody complained about that. We didn't have any problems with that, right? Because 70 years before that, if I'm counting it right, people were dying of polio. Really? I mean, right? And then now no one's dying.
You're preaching, Pat. Yep.
No one's dying of polio, but we're like, okay, this is fine. We are seeing people. Here's where it hits. Here's where it cuts us. We now know people.
Family members, yes. Church family. Yeah.
Now we know people who are dying. Now we know family members who are dying. Now we're saying to ourselves, oh, snap, this thing is really coming close to home. What should I do? Get vaccinated. Those who can, let me be clear on it. Those who can get vaccinated. When I go back to the mandate, I'm sorry. When I go back to the mandate, I don't want to be in the president's shoes, but it is his responsibility to keep the United States safe. The same way we blamed our last president for not for saying a couple of words that got January 6th all torn up. It's the same way we go back to that old president and say you were not keeping your citizens safe.
That's right.
So I back up the president of the United States, mandate, law, or any other. Personally, y'all could cuss me out in the comments, but I go for it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Pat, if I might. Was it you, Tosh? I hate to cut across you.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. And I just want to say too, because we get caught up into the politics of this. I mean, because if we look at statistics, I mean, we see that there's a large number of people who are dying who are unvaccinated. I know you're going to throw us as Pastor, people are still dying who are vaccinated. That is true because listen, guys, there with every medication, there are always side effects, right? There was always some adverse reaction, right? That's why we encourage you, talk to your doctor, see what's best for you, talk to your doctor, right? But listen, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see this. Listen, this was given in a news interview this week, names of 5 conservative talk show radio hosts who beat down COVID-19 vaccinations and masks, and the 5 people, and I'm saying this compassionately because I wish it had not happened. They told you not to take it, and they said, don't wear the mask. And the 5 of them have expired from this earth. They have passed on, and they told you what not to do. Now, if you're telling me not to do it and it affects your life and you die, I'm going to think, maybe I need to consider something else, right? So I just want you guys to think about that.
I don't
So
want to
many
think about it. I
people
want
are.
to tell you, Marlena, that I don't want to think about it. I think 1 or 2 of them said to their family members, get vaccinated. Forget
Yes.
about what I said.
Mhm,
You know what I mean? Now you double
That's right.
back that you coming close to the listen, the people that don't want you to get vaccinated are the people who own funeral homes.
Stop.
That's
But no, guys,
real.
and I'm seeing a lot of this chatter in the chat about, and this is something that comes up every time we have doctors who come on and talk about just giving facts about what's in the vaccine. People are saying, just tell people to build their immune system. And I'm seeing some of that in the chat now. And I was introduced, my parents became Adventists the year I was born. So my life was the health message, because you know how it is when you first come into the Adventist message, and they preach, house is cleared of everything unclean, you're at your peak health. So I know what it's like to live a healthy lifestyle. At the same time, I understand that there are some things that even my immune system is primed, my body can be exposed to. Okay. So that doesn't mean that because we know people, all of us, I'm sure, has known someone who has lived an impeccably healthy lifestyle and has still caught COVID, has still had negative effects, and have even died.
That's right.
And hold on. We have vegans,
Yeah.
vegetarians who have died of cancer. Right.
Yes.
And I'm not trying to be facetious against that either. You cannot just hear about COVID and now build your immune system. Decide now you want to build your immune system. That takes time. Oh, I'm not going to eat chicken this week because I don't want to get COVID. It's not going to happen that way.
Or 30 oranges. Yeah.
Right. All of that. Or now you guzzling down vitamin C and vitamin D and all of that stuff right now because you're afraid of getting COVID. The truth is that some of us cannot take the vaccine. I know that, right? It's gonna be more difficult for you to take the vaccine. And there's some of what the biggest problem that we have is misinformation.
That's right.
I'm looking at WhatsApp and I'm saying, the reason why I say WhatsApp is because WhatsApp is not how you say it, GP. Facebook is not.
It's not as recognized as the big social media sites, right?
There's no GP
regulation.
Say it again.
Regulation.
Yeah.
There's no regulation on WhatsApp, so everybody's passing on information that somebody made up in in their office somewhere,
like it's the gospel, man.
Exactly. I blame WhatsApp right now for the foolishness that is,
and not just them only. And let's turn this a little bit, because the question was given: how does this affect the church? This mandate, how does it affect the church? Now, we know that the years ago that when the Pilgrims came over, right, that there was going to be a separation of church and state, because we did not want to have the government mandating to people and the world church, how we should live, right? So we must keep church and state separate. So I heard a preacher speaking to, I guess, his congregation. It was all on the news there that he was totally against the vaccination and things like that. And you could write his church, if your pastor was too scared, that's what he said, if your pastor was too scared to give you a letter so that you can opt out of the vaccination, his church would give it to you. You had to give a little donation there, but he could give it to you. Now let's talk about that, because what is the relationship now? Even if we're all Seventh-day Adventists here on this panel, so we can speak a little bit about our churches. We know other people are watching us, but how do we look at that, the church and state, with this mandate?
Hold on. Okay, go ahead, because I just want to. Yo, somebody go ahead, because I'm gonna climb all over this. I mean, go ahead.
Well, in light of the discussion, it shouldn't make a difference. If you're going to mandate churches too, and mandate the pastors and the leaders of that church to say, if you have members that are not vaccinated, they cannot come to worship.
Oh! Wait a minute, Chuck.
Let's just make it. Well, no, I'm saying if you're going to make a mandate,
right? They hate the man already because of what he has done. So they're already saying you're taking away my freedom of choice as a Christian.
Well, but they're also American citizens. They're also people living in this country. And if the president is going to say that everyone, which he's not saying, he should be saying, if you're going to make a mandate concerning the life of human beings, everyone must be vaccinated in order to participate in employment, public sports and entertainment, worship. Just go right on down the line. I mean, let's not make any exceptions, except for perhaps people that have medical conditions that would endanger them if they take the vaccine. That's an exemption. I think what this is boiling down to me is, and it's not a discussion of whether the vaccines are effective. They are. The data is there. Okay. What we're talking about here is legislating behavior. So behavior is what has gotten us into this mess. COVID came over here and jumped on a few people. And then, of course, over a period of time, it was thousands and now millions. People had their own conclusions about what it is, what it isn't. We're even discussing, well, what's in the vaccine. And I've heard some outrageous stuff about what's in the vaccine. Okay, all of that complex discussion, some of it foolishness, is going to go on and on. The bottom line is, does the United States government, through the president of the United States, mandate for the safety and economic, you want to throw that in, it should be for everyone.
I got you there, Chuck. I'm with you. But my question is,
go big.
So if we can't afford, to not take the vaccine, we also cannot afford to exempt anyone from the mandate.
I got you. There are many people who saying that this affects their religious liberty. When you tell me I have to take this vaccination, now you're taking away my right to choose, right? You're taking away my belief, right? That I can do whatever I want to do to my body. You can't tell me to put something in my body. And so now you're messing with my religious rights and my religious freedom. All right.
Mm-hmm.
We know as Adventists that we have always promoted healthy living, right? We've always promoted healthy living. We have all kinds of documentation and teachings on how to eat properly, exercise, take care of yourself. There was even something that was in the early writings of Ellen G. White, and how, they received vaccinations and she promoted vaccinations. There's nothing wrong with that. So as a church ourselves, we don't stand against the vaccination. Am I right? All right. So we might have church members that want to receive a letter from us, but we can't give that to them on behalf of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, because we promote healthy living. Therefore, the vaccination promotes good health, right? Statistically, FDA and CDC says that it is safe, so some people don't want to believe them. That's your choice. But as a church, we make that stand that all is well. Now, I do understand that our religious liberty department is saying that you can make your own decision to stand on behalf of yourself, that this is against your, religious right. I do understand that to be, but that's the main issue in Christendom, not necessarily just the Adventist church alone, that this is still, though, a violation of my religious freedom.
And I want it's also caused a divide in our church between those who are pro-vaccine, if you will, or don't necessarily have a problem with it, and those who feel like there's some strong implications, even challenging your faith in God, or the fact that I've seen so much of that back and forth with people, and I'm trying to say to myself, how are we allowing a vaccine to be the thermometer that we're using to judge someone's where someone is spiritually? I think we tread on very dangerous territory here. I mean, even in the comments, hearing, saying that we should be praying for saints right now instead of promoting the vaccine. I don't know anyone on this forum who doesn't pray for our constituents on a daily basis. But I think when we're looking at a situation where we're seeing people dying, and particularly from a conference level, when we're getting all of these requests, when you're seeing the volume, when you're seeing the pain that families are going through, when you're seeing all of these things that could have been prevented by a vaccine, it doesn't seem so strange. I mean, you pray, but then you do what God has provided. You pray, you never stop praying. Prayer is a constant part of our lives, but you don't replace it. You still have a job to do. You still have an obligation to do. So it's not so much preaching the vaccine or promoting the vaccine. It's people, we have a work to finish. How can we finish it if we're dead? How can we finish this work by saying, how do we say if we die, it's God's will, when he's given us something that will allow us to live longer so we can continue to spread this message? How do we put those things? For me, I can't reconcile that thought process, but that doesn't make me shame someone else, because I see a lot of that shaming going on in the church. That's the part because everyone is entitled to their own opinion. Okay. Let me just put this out there and then I'll stop. Hey, if you don't want to be vaccinated, okay. That's one thing. But when you preach falsehood and spread information and misinformation to groups of people to influence them, that's when I have the issue. And when you judge other people, because I don't judge you if you don't want your mask. I'm judging you. I'm sorry. I'm judging you because you're going to spread COVID to somebody, and it's been proved. But anyway, I just wanted to make a point that we have to be careful that we don't use this vaccine once again to divide us in the church. We seem to find things that even allow us within our own congregations and within our own denomination to divide us. And we have to be very careful about that.
And if I may piggyback you, Tosh, prayer, we know, is our communication with God, right? And so God is going to speak back to us if we're praying to him, right? You can't wish this away. You can't ignore it away. This is a world pandemic. It is killing people all over the world, right? So we talk about... You
can't run anywhere, Marlene.
Yes.
You can't... Where are you going to run?
That's right. You can't. That's right. That's right. And so listen to me, family. I love you guys, but people are dying. Do you understand? People are dying. And some of you may say, hey, I'm in good health. I take care of myself. We need to have some faith. Faith without works is dead. All right. You have faith that God will keep you alive, but then you got to do something, right? You've got to protect yourself. You got to protect others. That's the vaccination. That's the wearing of the mask. All right. So if you don't do it, then there are going to be consequences. Sorry, this keeps falling out of my ear. So I wanted to give the example of diabetes. This is a very popular thing because you have diabetics. You want to eat whatever you want to eat, right? But we know with diabetes, you can have faith. I'm not going to die. I'm not going to have a stroke. Nothing like that is going to happen to me. I'm doing good. And you keep eating a lot of sugar and you keep eating all your carbs and you don't exercise. And you're like, I'm praying. I'm praying everything's going to be all right, but you don't change your behavior. You don't do something. No, you're going to start losing limbs. You're going to start having strokes and even lose your life, right? So God wants us to be wise. He gives us wisdom. So when you pray, God is going to give you wisdom, right? And he's going to help you do the right thing. There is nothing new about this vaccination that that you have not already received, right? With the other vaccinations as a child and all of the other mandates that have come up in this life to protect your safety. There is nothing new about that. So as we just go a little bit further here, I just wanted to share, as Chuck had already started to say, one of the main issues is our behavior. Anybody want to talk about that? We're fighting on the airplanes. We're acting a fool out there, right? And we know that that Satan is the author of all this confusion. This is not godly. This is not Christ, right? This is Satan and causing so much confusion and causing people to die from misinformation. And I just say, talk to your doctor. Even if you don't believe what I say, you can say, Marlene is crazy. Talk to your doctor, right? Say, doc, what should I do? You know, should I do this or should I not? Talk to your doctor. So it's our behavior. Any comments on that?
Marlena, hold on. Let me just be Marlena.
He's digesting.
Listen. Our jobs as Christians is to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ, right? No, hold that in right over here.
He said spread.
That's right.
Super spreaders we are. Okay.
Who promotes life? I want to tell you that. Jesus promotes life, right?
Yeah, you got it. E.E. Cleveland said to us in our classroom, I'll never forget this. He says, you preach the gospel as though the whole earth is on fire and you only know one way to get out. Right? That's how you preach, right? When I look at people's behavior concerning our preaching of the gospel, it's the same thing. All right. If you step on their toes, they're going to get mad. Even for us, sometimes we sit down and we listen to a sermon, we're like, dang, was that for me? Oh my goodness, right? The first reaction that you have is to go against the pricks. That's how it is, right? If you don't believe in something, no one's going to get you to walk in its path or its way. I use that as the gospel in one sense or the other. The vaccine, the Adventist Church preaches healthy living, right? Not just healthy living, but when the polio thing came out in 1950 something, we pushed, take it, because we didn't want our teenagers coming home paralyzed. And the only way people started doing it is when their teenagers came home paralyzed, right? That's the only way that happened. People are arguing against these things, number one, because it's a political matter. That's one, whether you're Republican, whether you Democrat, or you could be Democratic and you just don't like higher authority telling you what to do. We back to the mandate, right? We don't want people telling us what to do. The other side of it is that, I know y'all gonna hate me for this, but here we go. Yo, we living in the last days. It's supposed to look like this, right? I say it all the time to people. Yo, it's supposed to look like this. It can't get any better than this. This should tell us immediately how the end of the world is coming about. Vaccination is not the end of the world, but it's a part of opening the door to what it's going to look like. And when we can't answer these questions, we become frustrated. And when we become frustrated, the only thing we could do is to get on the person who we think is weaker than they are, even if it's physically or mentally. That's why you're having all this fighting and carrying on going on, is because we're confused.
And angry.
Wasn't this the same thing that happened before the days of Noah? What was the problem before that? It was confusion. That's exactly what it was. So we're back to where it is. You have all of that fighting and carrying on going on, because we're not connected. That's where we are.
I think, Tosh, some people are asking to call in. Are we putting up that number for some to call in? And I saw that question.
We did have it up earlier, but I think we're running out of time for that now. Okay. Yeah.
If we had more time, folks, if we had more time.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we are about to wrap up, and that's a little bit of a process on the back end. But I do, I do. We have a lot of comments. I know we're not going to be able to get to all of them, but there was a question. I think Tiffany was asking about whether AEC was planning to mandate. And of course, just like any other entity, when certain things come about, that's going to be a discussion that needs to be had. But as of right now, that has not been mandated. Just wanted to address that question very quickly. But there's another comment from Donovan. Can you guys see that? And we're gonna take.
Oh yeah, I see it.
And even in the chat, we're seeing both sides of the coin, and that's what we encourage and anticipate. As long as we're not insulting to one another. I don't know if this might be too long for me to put up. I think it cut part of it.
No, we got it. Oh no, yeah, you're right.
You guys can see the bulk of it. Somebody else read that.
Yeah, this whole vaccine hesitant fiasco is brought on by Trumpism. That's the elephant in the room that no one wants to mention. Look at the carnage that's going on in the red states. It's sickening how evangelical Christians are using scripture to support their twisted political beliefs on this topic. I am encouraged that most of the SDA brethren within my immediate circle believe in science, good sense, and full understanding of scriptures. Again, Trumpism is the problem. Simply put, the man.
All right, Elder Wint. I know him very well. One of my good elders. Bless you, sir.
Oh, okay. All right. And we gotta okay, there was another comment from Greg. He's saying what he would like to see is good peer review for those that are doing it the natural and homeopathic way. They are not even interested in that. I don't know if when the day.
Can I jump on my parents' side real quick? My parents are not vaccinated, but for years they have been eating the right stuff. They get their sunshine. And really, I don't even like going over there because there's nothing over there I can eat. Right? I mean, they're just
some berries.
Yeah, they have some berries and that's how they eat. But here's the thing: they have also taken extra precaution that you can't come in their house. Right. So they wash their mail. It's true. They wash their mail outside. Their food stays outside, has to be washed before it comes in. Now, if you want to do all of that, it's fine. They haven't gotten COVID yet. I pray they never get COVID.
Amen.
I see someone in the comments that said they have never done any vaccination with their children and they've been fine. To God be the glory. And I'm not even throwing that to the side. I think that is great. That's a great testimony.
Careful.
What I'm saying is that, yes, we don't know how our bodies work like that. And so I go to Matthew 9, where the Bible says, go to the physician. All right. That's me. I'd rather go to the physician because I don't know anything about it. I think that that we ought to be able to use our mindset. And my girl is on here, Mama, who said we should be praying and not go through all of this. No, our job is not to just pray, but all of Leviticus 13, 14, 15 tells us how to keep the camp clean.
That's right.
Right? That's what Leviticus is all about. The things we should eat, the things we shouldn't. The way we should wash our hands. Let me tell you something. Do you know that the reason why Jesus, the Sanhedrin didn't want Jesus to eat with sinners, because the sinners didn't wash their hands the way that they were supposed to wash their hands. You're supposed to wash your hands from the tip to your elbow 12 times to make sure that you were clean before you were able to eat. Do you know that the surgeons do that now?
Yeah.
Right? The surgeons do it now. From the tip to the elbows, they wash their hands. One of the reasons why this thing is going out of control is because we're not clean anymore. We don't have that cleanliness anymore. We cough in each other's face. We eat whatever. We pick our nose. We shake each other's hands. We do all this kind of stuff. Hey, this is where we are. We got to go back to the Leviticus. The way we eat, what we do, what we wear, it's even in there. So my biggest thing is, it's not about prayer. We pray. It's about common sense.
Donna Rowe wants to know if your parents live in this country.
Yes, my parents live down the block, Bowie, Maryland. And when you walk in their house, they got a big, gigantic sign. I should have bought it. They got a big, gigantic sign. Don't cross this line until you wash your hands, and you double mask before you walk in their house. when the mail people come and UPS and all that come, they have a place where you leave it. They clean it down. They spray it down. They spray their mail before it comes in. Now, I don't want to live that way, but if they choose to live that way for not taking the vaccine, so let it be written. So let it be done. Yeah, they live in this country.
Well, guys, I just want to say this as we are closing in, and if you have a take-home message after I speak, feel free to share that. But I want to say to all of us, we are living in the end times. We see stuff around here that's happening that we've never seen before. And the devil is not playing with it. He doesn't care whether you were healthy before, as was spoken previously. They're strong vegetarians who have gotten cancer. How does that happen unless we're living in a world, where these are end times, and you must protect yourself. Many of us are making decisions, and we can't force you to do anything. We're just trying to enlighten you, open your minds, because listen, when people are in the hospital and they felt one way against that vaccination, I never hear anybody saying, I made this decision, doc. Just forget it. You don't have to do what it takes to save me. I'm good. I'm good. I accept my responsibility. I accept the consequences to the choices that I make. That's not what they say. They say, save me. You do whatever it takes to save me. So we are preaching to you in advance, make good decisions, right? Don't listen to all these home remedies. Don't listen to other things that people are saying. Talk to your doctor, because you believe in science when you get sick. That's why you call 911. Because you know that science is going to help you. And so we want you to take care of yourself, take care of your brother and sister. Right now, a lot of people, I hear, not that I'm speaking to any of you guys, but I see on the news people say, you're messing with my rights to take care of myself, but you fight everybody to even wear a mask. And you come around us now risking our lives. And let me say this, as we close, let me say this. Don't listen to all the hype of what people are saying out there. Watch what they do, because the mandate with this health thing does not compare to the mandate and the laws that they are making about women and what happens to their bodies and them making the choices to their own bodies. All right. That's a mandate when you're changing laws, right, to tell me what I can do with my own body. That's a mandate. All right. And so listen, guys, we love you. Take care of yourselves. We know people who have died. This thing is nothing to play with. It is a pandemic affecting the entire world. So all of the good eating that you do, that is great, but we need to go a step further in our prayer life and do the works, right, to take care of ourselves, take care of one another, and make sure we live a healthier life. Anybody else? We're closing.
Right? Like, what can we
Well,
say?
what are you gonna say?
My.
Chuck, he knows I'm always saying it's Jesus and then him. I'm sure there's something he has to say.
Well, I just go back. I mean, we can discuss all day long efficacy, should you get the vaccine, whatever. Those arguments will go on and on. My thing is still about behavior.
Yep.
Because if it's not the vaccine, it's something else. I just read one statistic from the CDC. There are 1.35 million people killed in car accidents every year.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
That's from the CDC. That means 3,700 deaths per day.
Mm-hmm.
Sound like COVID numbers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But we don't have mandates for cars. We have speed limits.
We have seat
We have
belts.
car inspection. We have seat belts. Safety checks on your car. But still, because of behavior, we have 1.3 million people dying every year from cars. So I would like, across the board, I would like for us to advocate behavior change over anything else. I'm not going to discuss the efficacy and why you should take, because that argument will go on and on. Let's talk about behavior, because before we had a vaccine, it was wear your mask. And when people wore their masks safely, the numbers went down, and those numbers from WHO will prove that, and even other countries. So I think at the end of the day, vaccinated or not, it's behavior, because even the vaccinated say, "Oh, I'm vaccinated, I don't have to wear a mask." I was watching the Eagles game today.
Hmm.
Thousands of people in the stadium.
No
No
mask.
social distance, no masks.
Seeing that a lot.
And if everyone had to show their had this temperature, vaccine card, whatever, then the CDC eventually came around and said, "But you still have to wear your mask." I see a stadium full of people with no mask, and they could have all been vaccinated. So for me, it goes back to behavior. If you really care about your friends and your neighbors, vaccinated or not, you will wear a mask.
Very good. Well said.
You heard it from
It's true. And
Chuck.
I guess I would say, you know, I'm one of those people. I just don't like controversy. I try to find any way to just have peace if it's possible. And I hate to see the level of controversy that this
Can
has.
we all just get along?
And yeah,
Can-
I really have that feeling. You know, I like, can we all just get along? Like, you know, let's respect these others' choices. Let's, you know, but in addition to that, I do believe in people having a personal choice. Obviously, I do believe that each of us has a personal relationship with God, and therefore we can pray to Him and ask Him to show us what we should do, show us how we should go about this. I think sometimes, you know, growing up, we were the peculiar people, right? That was a big thing, that we were to be peculiar. And I think sometimes as Christians, sometimes even as Adventists, we take that peculiar part to the next level. So anything that comes out, we're automatically going the opposite direction, because if that's what the most of people are saying, then I have to, you know, take my stand and almost be a martyr for this thing, because, you know, I'm standing against what the government says. I just don't want us to get so caught up in trying to be peculiar that we fail to rely on God or our guidance in making decisions, and allow Him to impress us, and
Okay.
allow not necessarily articles that we read, not necessarily WhatsApp text we receive, but it's God to give us wisdom. And I guarantee you, He will show you what you need to do.
Oh, she needed that organ right there. Yeah. Go ahead, preach, bro. Go ahead, preach. Go. You got one more minute to preach it
We
through.
have 6 pastors up here before it's all over.
My.
She done went spiritual on us. All right.
All right.
I'm good, Marlena. I said too much already. Yeah.
Well, you know,
No.
as we close, Tosh, you can take over then. GP, are you with us? You got anything to close out with?
Yeah, I was just going to say, as we live in the tension between Leviticus 13 and
Here we go.
Revelation
All right,
13,
go back to it.
Repeat.
I pray that we remain balanced, that we remain grounded,
Mhm.
and that we trust in God and also trust science as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, and you know how the Bible says, if it were possible, even the very elect would be deceived. That means you have to study, you have to find out things. Do the same thing with the vaccination. Don't go from these, you know, sites, right, that are not scientifically sound and approved. You know, even if there's so much stuff out there, people don't even believe the truth when they hear it, you know, but you have to go to the CDC, the FDA, and follow what they say. All right. And don't go by your own understanding. All right. Just want to leave you with that. Tosh, take us on home.
Well, thank you, Marlena. Thank you all for the great dialogue in the chat. I love hearing the varied opinions. All of us are entitled to have our opinions on different things, and I appreciate all of you all being respectful in your comments. And we're going to continue as we go with the podcast to tackle some of the topics that you all share. So if there are other topics you want us to cover, you can of course put them in the chat. Of course, we have the option where if you want to email us some topics that you want us to tackle, do it right there, upset@aecsda.com. Of course, we have some other topics that we've been itching to talk about, and so we have a lot of great content planned for you guys. But the success of it is your interaction with us. So thank you guys for upsetting it with us one more time. All right, everybody, stay faithful. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys. Thank you
Take
so
care.
much.
Blessings.
Take care, family.
Bye-bye.
Whoa, who was the DJ?